hi everybody, or as commonly now say in here, it's good morning. Now we have evening. Good morning. We are from Ukraine. Now I would like to share my presentation. I try to briefly describe the situation in Ukraine with safeguarding and protection of our heritage during the war. I would like to start with some interesting fact that at the beginning of February, I finished translation of the book, A War to Be Won, about Second World War, American war analyst Williamson Murray and Alan Millett. And it's interesting analysis of World War. And for me, it was very interesting. And I thought that it will be impossible to repeat once again. As they write, you can see that it was the deadliest conflict in the modern history. Combining not only slaughter of soldiers, but direct attacks against civilians. And World War II has been the war for half a century in Europe and Asia, and will retain that status well into 21st century. It was the past, but it continues to shape the present and the future, wrote the authors. And it's very strange, but the situation repeated now in 21st century, because on February 24, once more, early morning, at between 4 and 5 o'clock, Russians bombed our cities, and Kiev awoke with bombing. You can see here the gouache picture of Max Chagall, Famille Ukrainian. It's about events in 1941, 1943. Max Chagall, as you know, it's French painter of Belarus origin. He was Jew. And it was a painting about this situation. But now this tragedy returned because it is impossible to compare with other war, local war during 20th and 21st century in Vietnam, Afghanistan, Syria, where global superpowers took part. But in each of these conflicts, these superpowers, they supported one opposite party, local party. And now we have large-scale aggression, invasive war against Ukrainian people, against Ukrainian history, against Ukrainian culture. You can see here the settlement close to Kiev. It's called Bucha, and it's very ordinary for us. It's very common now picture from different our cities and localities, including Chernihiv, including Mariupol, including Kharkiv. You see, it's desire to eliminate Ukrainian culture and Ukrainian
on est bien aujourd'hui, par exemple, moi, je trouve.
Identity.
Ouais, on était bien là-bas au village. Oui, c'est sûr qu'on a fait le tour vite.
Excusez-moi, pourriez-vous couper vos micros s'il vous plaît, on vous entend. Nous avons coupé le conférencier. Merci à tous de couper vos micros en attendant. Monsieur Butsenko, juste pour vous informer.
Okay.
Just to let you know, the slides on your PowerPoint aren't changing. We are still on the first slide.
Sorry.
That's okay. Don't worry.
Very strange. And now?
Okay. Yes, now we see.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. This is about, I have said, about the settlement of Bucha, 20 kilometers from Kiev. And speaking about Ukrainian culture, Ukrainian heritage, you know about our monuments, about our sites in Kiev, in Lviv, in many other cities. And I would like to show you some of them only. This is, for example, Poltava History Museum. It's Ukrainian modernism of 1930s. Then it's Chernihiv wood architecture of 19th century. Chernihiv now is destroyed almost by 70%. I don't know about this building and about local museum. Here is the Kamianets-Podilsk fortress. It's 14th, 16th century. It was also the center of Polish-Ukrainian and then Ukrainian culture. And the last is the Kharkov monument of Bauhaus architecture. It was built in 1923, 1928. It was so-called state building. It was the first so huge Bauhaus construction in Lviv. It is situated in the central square of Kharkiv, the square of liberty or square of freedom. And then you can see many settlement sites of cultural and historic and natural value. For example, Khortytsa Island is a candle of Cossacks culture. It's close to Zaporizhia. Now Zaporizhia is fighting against Russian troops as well. It's some island where start the Cossack Republic in 15th, 16th century. And now in Sinevir Lake in Carpathian Mountains, it's the largest lake in Carpathian Mountains. It's one of our magnificent lake of many other lakes in Ukraine. And speaking about culture, the desire of Russian aggression is destruction of cultural assets and values, with an aim to erase Ukrainian as independent sovereign states. To the left, you can see one of the rituals from Odessa region, the so-called Moshu. It's a combined ritual of Ukrainians and Moldovan people, because it's a place where a lot of different nationalities live: Moldavian, Romanian, Ukrainians. The Ukrainian culture is very multinational culture. We have about 130 nationalities in Ukraine. In our register of intangible cultural heritage, we have Tatar elements, Karaim elements, and so it's Moldavian elements. Above you see different crafts. It's from the exhibition of National Union of Folk Art Masses of Ukraine. It's different products of craft skills of Ukraine. And at the bottom, you can see children with Easter painted eggs. The children are from Lugansk region. And I don't know about their fate now, where they are. Or they are internal replacement people in part of Ukraine, or they are refugees in Poland, in Lithuania, in Germany, and other countries, or they are hiding in shelters from bombings, or they are killed, because now we have almost 150 children killed in Ukraine in different cities, and the same number is injured or wounded. So we can remind the words of George Orwell, who controls the past, controls the future. And we see that they would like to erase the past and also eliminate our future. And now you can see bombed and damaged some of our cultural assets. To the top left, left maybe, you can see the Museum of Chernihiv. Yesterday I discussed with the director of the museum and asked him to join us, but he said me that they have no electricity, water, internet, food, and they are in siege now, the Chernihiv city on the northern part of Ukraine. Also, it's necessary to say about museum in the city of Ivankiv, not far from Kiev, where the works of Maria Primachenko, very famous folk master of Ukraine. History Museum in Chernihiv, you see also, you can see at the bottom this central square of Kharkiv. It's from the other side where is Bauhaus construction. At the other side of the square, it's completely destroyed now. And to the right top, you can see the church in the city of Malin. Malin is Zhytomyr region, also not so far from Kiev. Then you can see here drama theater above, to the left, and to the right, library in Mariupol. Mariupol is destroyed by 90% now. And in only Mariupol, more than 3,000 civilians were killed last 2 weeks. Also, you can see this Zhytomyr region. It's close to the village of Vyazivka, where was destroyed the 19th century wooden church. And you can see this picture of different small villages and towns in the Zhytomyr region now. And you can imagine I use more or less modest pictures because we have so terrific photos. Well, now every other cities and city authorities take measures to protect their heritage. You can see different monuments. To the left is the monument of the Kiev founders, three brothers, Kij, Shek, and Horiv, and their sister Libit. It's legendary founders of Kiev. And now you can see the empty streets. It's the Maidan of Independence, Maidan Nezalezhnosti in Kiev, famous Maidan. Now only our defenders stay here and some protection of monuments. To the right, you can see this famous monument of Duke Richelieu in Odessa, and they prepare to protect them. And the last is the Lviv, the city on Lviv. All cities, they protect the monuments. It's also only some pictures. Then you can see the famous monument in Kiev, in the center of Kiev, in the downtown of Kiev. Small monument. It's monument to hedgehog in the frog. It's some personage of animated film. And now they removed this monument and with this announcement, I went to defend my homeland. During even all these events, the scientific activities and discoveries continue. And even you can see that even preparing fortifications in Chernigiv, the warriors or the members of so-called territorial defense, they discovered pieces of pot from 18th century and transferred it into the local history museum. In Kiev, digging also during these walks for fortification in the suburb of Kiev, the members of small Academy of Science discovered a tooth of shark dated back to the 50 million years, and they transmitted it to the National History Museum. You can see this National History Museum of Ukraine to the right. It's replenishing its collection. Also, the Ministry of Culture of Ukraine and Information and Policy, they opened a special web page in the website to collect all evidence about damages and losses of our cultural heritage. So now they gathered all these facts about damages, museums, libraries, theaters, and also about churches, temples, and many others things which we have lost and which are damaged now. Our site of our center, Democracy Through Culture, is we collected different evidence about intangible cultural heritage. Here you see some samples of Petrikivka decorated painting, which is inscribed on UNESCO representative list. Petrikivka is a village in Dnipropetrovsk region, and I also connected with them yesterday, and they said that it's very difficult to to move for bearers of this traditional painting, because in general, everyone in Petrikivka, the whole families are bearers. So it's necessary to move the whole family from Petrikivka to western part of Ukraine or to other cities. The same is the same situation is with Cossack songs of Dnipropetrovsk region. It's also one of our elements inscribed in UNESCO list, because the bearers of these elements, they live in the village around the city of Dnipro. They are aged people, and now they are also endangered, and this tradition is under endangered. What, very briefly, what about needs assessment, tangible heritage and museum? It's necessary to do, and we are doing together with the Ministry of Culture, together with National Academy of Arts, and some of our professional unions and associations, documentation of all damages and losses related to monuments, sites, and buildings, museum collections, funds, even experts, staffs, because it's necessary also to think about people, equipment, and many others. Then it's necessary to accumulate in funds for emergency support, for removal of our funds, for making protection, transportation, and providing employees subsistence. And thinking about the future needs, restoration, reconstruction, training, and organizing different exhibition, maybe of Canadian museums, of other part, for aware or people about the role of culture, about the role of cultural heritage. And the last but not least, it's a distribution of information, including photo description, analytical service globally about the losses of Ukrainian tangible heritage. As for the intangible heritage, as well, monitoring and documentation the situation with intangible cultural heritage. We are connecting with communities. Some of our communities now they are under occupation, occupied. For example, Melitopol, it's also not far from Azov Sea, and they have Karaite communities, small communities, also with the element inscribed in the National Register of Intangible Cultural Heritage. It's very difficult now to have connection with them because it's very dangerous for them. Also, we have connection with heritage centers in different cities, associations, NGOs, related, and it's necessary thinking about related to intangible cultural heritage sites because they are almost destroy environment and also products or our crafts. Then we are thinking about creation of ICH map before and after Russian aggression, including data on bearers and craftsmen. We collect this data to prepare and then compare these maps or atlas of intangible cultural heritage. And collecting of master class on ICH elements, for example, Easter eggs painting, Vivi making of dolls, paper cutting, and many others. We shall collect these master classes and distribute it because a lot of Ukrainians are refugees in different countries, including children's, and it will be very useful for them for use. And also it will be very informative for other countries. And then activation of IC platforms. On our site, we have a platform where NGOs, crafts and art association, research center and institution, Ministry of Culture, local heritage organization, bureaus, they take part for distribute information and distribute initiatives. And concluding, I would like to say about great importance of the global support of our fighting in Ukraine. And also return to the book with which I start my short presentation. The authors of the book, they finished their book with words, attempts to impose imperial regimes founded on the racial superiority, slavery, and genocide did not succeed because of extraordinary efforts and sacrifices made by allied soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines from all around the world. Americans, Australians, Britons, Canadians, Chinese, French, Indians, Poles, Russians, Ukrainians, and innumerable other nationalities. The same we have now in Ukraine. We have a global support from different countries, from different nationalities, including humanitarian aid, including arms, and even warriors. We have this International Legion Defense of Ukraine. It consists of volunteers from different countries. This legion has separate Canadian battalion, and we are very thankful for all countries, because it's really for support and for solidarity. We trust in our future because we are from Ukraine. Well, thanks for attention. Merci pour attention. And here you have connection and one of the pictures, because it's now we have a lot of different pictures every day in our social networks and internet. Thank you.